All right, so somebody sent me this article while I was gone. Apologize, last week was a little bit tough on me, but I am back. So this article is the Boston housing market trends and forecasts from 2024 to 2025. Now, I really only glanced at this article, I glazed over it, and it seems like they're providing some data-based evidence of where the market may be heading. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys and just get right into this. So again, Boston housing market trends and forecasts 24 to 25. This is from Narada Real Estate Investments. They do a very good job on certain markets and they really break these markets apart. So appreciate you sending me this article. So it says Boston's housing market consistently ranks among the most competitive in the nation. Fueled by a robust job market and a prestigious academic scene, the city attracts a steady stream of residents seeking a slice of its vibrant culture. However, this popularity translates to higher housing costs compared to the rest of the country. And this is true. So the more population density that you have, and attributing factors to that are jobs, schools, stuff like that. And what happens is, if there's a limited amount of inventory for people, that will eventually increase prices because there is higher demand. The Boston housing market trends in 2024 show a shift towards a more balanced market after a period of intense seller dominance. So yes, 100% true, right? So obviously 2020, 21, 22, 23, and even parts of 24 here have been pretty radical, right? They've been very, very crazy. The COVID really shifted this market here. It had a little bit of a downturn. Then we had people selling their condos, which is still happening to a point, and buying single family homes. That really caused a big shortage in single family homes for a lot of people, and that's why they are still struggling to get offers accepted or even find a house. This suggests that the market is becoming more favorable for buyers, although sellers still hold a degree of an advantage, especially for well-priced and well-maintained properties. So here's the thing. Well-priced and well-maintained are two of the biggest components that we go over when we are on something like a listing appointment, or we're going over how to strategically make a good investment for a property, keep the prices down, and offer a very good product to the market. The fact of the matter here is it doesn't matter what market that you're in, okay? Especially though in a seller's market, you could still have property sitting on the market. So if you're one of these sellers and you're sitting there thinking, why the heck isn't my house selling? It's probably not priced right, or it's probably not well maintained. And if you have a mix of those two, guess what? Your property is going to sit on the market. That's just how it goes. You cannot price your property at what the top of the market is and expect even higher than that price is. You need to price it accurately where most places are listed for versus where they sell for. And that's a trap I see a lot of sellers see. They find their neighbor's house sold for $150,000 over the list price, right? And they list their home for that said close price, but the fact of the matter is they don't know all the work that went in behind the pricing structure of that property in order to get 150. So all of a sudden, now that seller has to start taking price reductions, or they eventually end up getting bid down because you can't list at the top of the market, not in this specific market. Let's delve into the specifics of the current Boston housing market situation, explore the key trends shaping its future. All right, here we go. Boston housing market trends in 2024, a shift towards a more balanced market. This should be interesting. So it says the latest data from the Greater Boston Association of Realtors reveals a noticeable slowdown in home sales across the region. Both single-family homes and condominiums witnessed a dip in sales compared to the same period last year and the previous month. Now, here's the thing, and I think they're going to get into this too. There could always be a dip in sales. And when, let's say, national news media reports on this, a lot of times they're missing the point, because if there's decreased inventory, there's also going to be a decrease in sales. But let's see what they say. Single-family home sales in September of 24 fell by 1.3% year over year, registering the lowest monthly sales volume since September of 1995. Wow, that is crazy. Condominium sales declined by 10.6% year over year, with September 2024 representing the slowest month for condo sales in over a decade. I will tell you, there is a lot of condos on the market. There is a lot of condos on the market. Doesn't mean your condo's not going to sell, but the fact of the matter is, You need to do things in order for your property to sell at a very competitive price. And the fact of the matter is, it needs to be well maintained, like we said earlier, and it needs to ultimately have a very desirable price for buyers, especially if you're competing with other listings. Then it goes into saying this decline in sales can be attributed to several factors, including buyer hesitancy. Many buyers have adopted a wait-and-see approach due to the anticipation of potential interest rates cuts by the Federal Reserve and upcoming presidential election. The wait-and-see approach usually never works. It's really hard to time the market. And I had a lot of people back in 2018 and 2019 waiting for a market crash or something like that, because we were still receiving quite a bit of year-over-year appreciation. And then what happened, right? Nobody could have predicted COVID and these, substantially increased prices. But normally when you're waiting, especially no matter if it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, right? If it's a seller's market and you buy now and it's still a seller's market next year, you're going to receive appreciation. What a lot of buyers don't realize is that when you're waiting for a more balanced or a buyer's market, you've already received years worth of appreciation from the previous years. So for instance, if you buy in a seller's market, you receive more appreciation year over year, right? You're buying into a seller's market, you're also going to receive that appreciation. If you buy at the beginning of a buyer's market, you're essentially buying the top of the market, because what happens is there were years worth of appreciation. I hope that makes sense for you guys. So ultimately, it boils down to you. When is the right time for you? Not necessarily the market. Increased inventory. Here we go. The number of homes and condos for sale has risen considerably, giving buyers more options and reducing the urgency to make quick decisions. From a personal perspective, I've observed that potential buyers are taking their time and meticulously evaluating their options. They are less likely to engage in bidding wars, which is a common scenario in the recent past. And that's great, honestly, for home buyers, because what happens is it's when you go out in this market, it's not like, okay, we're going to take our time. Maybe we'll try this one. Maybe we'll try that one. And you're trying to make a decision. You really don't even have the damn time to make a decision. It's really difficult out there. And you end up not necessarily settling, but you sort of get pigeonholed into having to buy something, right? And the reality is, it's because there is and was just a severe lack of inventory. And if you don't move on something, it's going to go. Boston home prices. The cooling Boston housing market has also impacted home prices, which have shown signs of softening. The median sale price for a single-family home remained flat year over year in September 2024. How about this? But decreased 7.4% month over month, reaching its lowest level since February. Wow, that is pretty astonishing. The median sale price for condominiums also experienced a slight annual decrease of 1.7% and 4.2% monthly decline. Now, they did touch on this a little bit. So, historically, there is some hesitation during the election season or during that timeline of the year, right? There's definitely some hesitation. The Fed is normally not making any major adjustments to rates and stuff like that. And a lot of people are trying to see what's going to happen, right? However, I did look at the past few years of election cycles, and this has been, this isn't a monumental shift, but it is a shift downwards, right? And I think a lot of the contributing factors here are the election, are the economy, and ultimately buyers. If you're in this market for 3-4 years and you're even if you're not doing this on a daily basis like me, buyers are just more educated, which we talked about in a previous video, and they're making a more educated decision, right? And that may not be timing the market, right? Because that's like playing with fire, but more educated decision in terms of their finances, their family, what they're going to do. Are they going to stay here? Are they going to move? And then they're making a more educated decision, right? Are home prices dropping in Boston? Yes, in the context of the above data, we can say that home prices are dropping, although not drastically. All right. Again, A slight decrease is a decrease. That could happen. It should be interesting seeing what happens next year. The decline is more pronounced on a month-to-month basis compared to the annual figures. However, the overall trend indicates a shift from a rapid price appreciation to a more stable or even declining price environment. It's crucial to remember that the market isn't a free-fall, but rather experiencing a more balanced state. Now, I will tell you, depending on where you are looking, all right. And this holds true in almost every market. Certain towns, certain cities, certain neighborhoods, certain micro neighborhoods, okay, they will pull different prices, right? And if you're buying in a very competitive school district or a, let's say, micro neighborhood that does not have a lot of inventory, these things are very specific to when you're purchasing, okay? Because if you want something on a specific street or in a specific neighborhood, or more importantly, in like a micro neighborhood is basically, if you don't know, a micro neighborhood is like a small subsection of a town, okay? That's basically what it is. It could have a name. Sometimes it doesn't have a name, but that's basically what it is, okay? And sometimes it could be highly competitive because of the lack of inventory. Single-family home listings are up 23% year over year, with September 2024 seeing 1,759 homes listed for sale. Condo listings have also risen by 23.5% year over year, reaching 2,290 units in September 2024. I will tell you, there is quite a bit of condos listed on the market, and I see a lot of them are sitting, okay? I do see that happening. The increase in listings is a positive development for buyers who now have a larger selection of properties to choose from. It's a noticeable change from the previous seller's market where inventory was limited. In my opinion, this increase in housing supply is a healthy sign for long-term stability of the Boston housing market. It promotes a more balanced market and allows buyers to have more negotiating power. The fact of the matter is, here's the thing. People get priced out of markets, okay? They keep increasing and increasing, and that threshold, once it's broken, the fact of the matter is the amount of income that you gain from your jobs is not keeping up with the housing market. It's not a one-for-one. It never really is a one-for-one, but the disparity between what your income is versus what a housing price is just more radical than ever, right? There's a huge difference where back in like the 80s, let's say, or maybe even the early 90s, that was like a little bit tighter. Now it's like your income is this and the housing prices are this. And a more balanced market will start to alleviate that pressure, right? And over time, what happens is, or what we want to see happen is, right, income increases, and then what happens is the housing prices start to come down with it because of a more balanced market, potentially heading into a buyer's market. I'm not saying that's happening here, but this is something to think of. So, the Boston real estate trends. Several markets have shaped the Boston housing market in 2024. Shift from sellers to a more balanced market. I will tell you, I do not necessarily think it is a more balanced market right now. I think it may be trending in that direction, but I don't know if we'll ever actually see it. Okay, because this data, even though seems that it's trending in that direction, there's not a guarantee there. We don't know what may happen heading into 2025. The market is moving away from the intense sellers market that prevailed in the past few years. While sellers still hold some advantages, the increased inventory and buyer hesitancy has led to a more balanced playing field, reduced buyer urgency. The increased inventory and anticipation of potential interest rate deductions have dampened the urgency among buyers. Many are taking their time and exploring various options before making a purchase. Increased negotiation power for buyers. With more choices available, buyers are in a better position to negotiate purchase prices and terms. The biggest thing here is, and I talk about this a lot too, so if you could at least maintain your contingencies, right? Like your inspection contingency, your mortgage contingency, you're at a win, all right? Even if you cannot have the seller fix things or something, like, at least you had the opportunity to do that. Because over the last few years, a lot of people have not had that opportunity. So it's not always, a lot of buyers, when they first think of negotiation, especially if they're new to this, they're thinking price, right? But negotiation comes in many factors, and a lot of the major ones are the inspection, are the mortgage contingency. This is a departure from the previous scenario where buyers were often faced with bidding wars and had limited negotiating power. More affordability. Mortgage rates have declined slightly in recent months, making homes slightly more affordable for some buyers. This improved affordability could also help to boost buyer activity in the coming months. Hopefully that will be the case, and hopefully with increased rates will come increased inventory. Seasonal slowdown, and this is a big part of this too. So again, Q1 and Q4 are the slowest times of the market. Q2, the spring market, is the highest, followed by Q3, although Q3 is not as high as Q2. So we're in Q4 right now, so of course there is a slowing in the market. It's honestly a good time to buy a house if you could withstand moving in the wintertime, but it's been pretty mild recently. So seasonal slowdown. As we move beyond the peak summer selling season, home sales typically slow down. 100% true. This seasonal trend is further exacerbated by the current market conditions, leading to a slower pace of transactions. So it says, finally, is Boston a buyer's or a seller's housing market? While the Boston housing market is transitioning from a seller's market, it's not entirely a buyer's market. It's more accurately characterized as a balanced market. I don't think it's a balanced market again, guys. I think we may be trending in that direction, where buyers have more leverage, but sellers still retain a degree of control. And that control could come in many forms. Sellers still have an advantage, but less so. Well-priced and well-maintained homes continue to attract buyer interest and often sell at or near asking price. Most of the time, they're selling for more than asking price if it's in a very desirable neighborhood. Buyers have more choices and negotiating power. The increase in inventory gives buyers more options, a better chance to negotiate favorable terms. Pricing is key. I don't know how many times I have to tell you this, guys. Pricing is key. Sellers need to be realistic in their pricing strategies to attract buyers in the current market. Overpriced homes might struggle to sell, while those priced competitively will likely attract more interest. Listen, there's no amount of marketing and advertising you could spend or push on a listing to receive your incredible price you're trying to obtain. Okay, you are putting yourself and setting yourself up for failure. Doesn't matter what the agent does on the back end, how many people show the property. As long as people are going through the property, they're doing their job to a point. Okay, ultimately, it needs to be priced accurately. There's almost no amount of marketing and advertising that could oversell your overpriced listing. Okay, the price is the key. It is literally 70% of what this business is, while marketing is essentially 30%. The price is so important. In my experience, buyers are now actively comparing prices and conditions before making an offer. They are also more likely to request inspections and negotiate repairs. Negotiating repairs, I don't know if they're in this market or not or whatever, but it's still very difficult to negotiate repairs. It was difficult previous to 2020, okay? All right, and this is a table summarizing I'm going to link this in the description. This is a really good article. Home sales trend. Decline in home sales and condo prices impacts slower sales pace. Home prices. Softening of median sale prices impact reduced price growth and some price reductions. Housing supply. Increased inventory of homes and condos. Impact more choice for buyers and reduced urgency. Buyer behavior. More cautious, less urgency, more selective. I think that mainly this has to do with being more educated. Some buyers have been in this market for years, so they're getting coached by agents, right? They're letting them know what's going on, and they become attuned to what's happening in the market. And what happens is increased negotiation power for buyers. Seller strategy. Need for realistic pricing. That no matter what the market is, you need realistic pricing. Importance of pricing and condition. Overall market condition. Shifting towards a more balanced market. More favorable for buyers, but sellers still hold some advantage. Boston housing market forecast for 24-25. Predicting the future of any market is challenging. It's almost impossible, right? But based on the current trends and factors, here are some potential scenarios for the Boston housing market in the coming months. Continued slowdown in sales. As we move further into the fall and winter months, the seasonal slowdown in home sales may continue. 100% true. Everybody knows that. Stabilization of prices. Home prices are likely to stabilize at current levels or experience a modest decline. Significant price drops are not anticipated unless the economy takes a sharp downturn. This is a very important factor here, and this is a very, very realistic and good article. Again, significant price drops are not anticipated. And the reason that is because people will literally take their home off the market before they do any kind of major price reduction for one of two reasons, okay? A lot of people that live here could potentially own and afford a second home. They may not want to do that and they would prefer to sell, but what they can do is take their house off the market before they consider some ridiculously low offer. They could rent out that home and then they could put it on the market on a future date, like let's say the following year in the spring, right? Increase buyer activity with lower interest rates. If the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates as anticipated, it could potentially boost buyer activity and help stabilize the market. I do not agree with this. I mean, if you watch this channel, you probably know where I'm going to head. So increased buyer activity with lower interest rates just means you're going to be taking more inventory off the market. Again, more or less, what happens with interest rates is that the amount of homes that come on the market per an interest rate cut is pale in comparison to the amount of buyers that come into the market. And that's why the Fed is very cautious when they're doing anything with the rates, especially right now, because if you reduce rates, you're going to see, I don't know what the ratio is, right? I don't know if it's like 5-1 or 10-1, but you're going to see a lot more buyers come out of the woodwork versus a lot more sellers. And the reason that happens, I actually went over this. I wish I could find that article. I may have it saved somewhere. The problem that we're having right now, and I've touched on this before, is buyers are somewhat okay where the rates are right now. And if they get down even lower, they'll be even more okay. The issue is sellers are not okay with that because they are currently sitting on a 3 or a sub 3 rate. So if those sellers are waiting for a sub 3 rate, and they're not going to put their house on the market until they see a 3 or a sub 3 rate, which I don't think we'll ever see a sub 3 rate again in my lifetime. I'm 39. Buyers are okay with the rates the way they are. I mean, places are closing every day, right? So any slight decrease is going to invite more buyers. I don't think it's going to invite more sellers. So I don't necessarily agree with this. Okay. Continued inventory growth. The current upward trend in housing inventory may continue, giving buyers more options and potentially pushing prices down further. Again, I don't foresee a massive spike in inventory. I mean, there's been incremental increases now, right? It is going up, but if more buyers enter the market, they could just literally sweep the rug out from all of this and essentially buy those houses, right? And you won't have sellers putting their homes on the market. Importance of pricing and condition. Sellers who adjust their pricing strategies and ensure their properties are in excellent condition will have a better chance of success in this market. So let's see, it says, what do experts predict? In the coming months, the market might see a slight slowdown, of course, with prices potentially dipping slightly towards the end of 24 and early in 25. However, a modest recovery is projected by September of 25. Of course, okay? Based on the latest data from Zillow, the Boston housing market is poised for a relatively flat trajectory. Here we go. Forecast period, October of 24. Projected home price change, 0.1%. December, negative 0.2%. September of 2025, plus 1%. So again, overall, based on that, there's not much of a change. And it says, as you can see from this table, the forecast suggests a slight increase in home prices in October of 24, followed by a minor dip at the end of the year. However, the market is expected to rebound slightly in 2025. Comparing Boston with other Massachusetts areas, it's always helpful to compare the Boston housing market forecast with trends in other areas of the state. For example, let's look at a few of the other areas in Mass. Worcester, projected home price change. Worcester has been doing very well. A lot of people relocated to Worcester. The market is very strong there. Up 2%. Springfield, up 1.5%. Barnstable Town, up 2.7%. So it says, in contrast to Boston, these areas are predicted to experience a stronger increase in home values by September of 25. Finally, here's the thoughts. My perspective, the Boston housing market forecast suggests a period of stability, though not necessarily robust growth. While the market won't likely see significant surge in prices, it also doesn't seem to be headed for a crash. I think that's 100% true. We have a very strong market here. The current economic environment, along with interest rate fluctuations, play a significant role in shaping the market's behavior. While there are projections for a slight dip in the coming months, it's important to remember that these are forecasts and the actual market can be affected by unexpected events. 100% true. For those looking to buy, this could be a great time to explore the market as prices may seem more reasonable. Meanwhile, sellers might need to be more realistic with their price. Listen, sellers need to be realistic no matter what the market is, 100%. What about 2026 and beyond? It's tricky to make a precise prediction too far out. However, based on current market trends and economic indicators, I would expect the Boston housing market to continue a gradual upward trend to 26, potentially with slightly increased year-over-year growth. This is my personal opinion and analysis based on available data, and it's not financial advice. Market conditions can change rapidly, so consult with a real estate professional for the most current information relevant to your specific situation. Should you invest in the Boston real estate market? Boston, a city steeped in history. Let me see what this is. I don't want to get into all of this stuff. All right, so they go a little bit further into this article. I don't want to make this video too long, but ultimately, there's a steady decline, but there's also potentially going to be a steady increase. And you got to remember one thing here, even if there's a steady decline, it does provide an opportunity for buyers to at least, let's just say, pay the list price of the property, right? Or at least maintain your contingencies. Those are wins. Paying the list price and maintaining your contingencies are wins, right? Even if you have to pay slightly above, that is still a win, because we have seen some markets go as 10, 12, 13% above list price. So if you can maintain those things and either get in at list price or slightly more, I still think you're doing pretty damn well. Now, on the flip side, in terms of sellers, right, you still need to potentially list your property at fair market value. You can't go in any market and list what your neighbor's house sold for. I realize that's a comparable, but how did they achieve that price? And a lot of sellers fall into that trap. They get hyper focused on the sold price, but they aren't looking at what the list price was. The list price is the key. It is literally the key. Yes, it's a comp for your house. Yes, your house might be worth that. But what happened is they created demand, and demand brings higher prices. If you're already at a higher price, there's not going to be as much demand. It's just the way it goes. This is a supply and demand business, period. So ultimately, this is my opinion. I think that if you're a buyer, as they said in the article, September, let's say just spring of next year, right? I think there's going to be more steady increases, okay, in terms of home sale prices. I could be completely wrong. But Q4 and Q1, man, I mean, honestly, if you're a buyer, even though moving in the winter sucks, there's opportunities out there because you have people that did exactly what I just told you, listed at the height of the market after the Q2 surge, after the slight Q3 surge, and then they start to sit. They start to sit on the market because they're listing at the height of the market. That's where opportunity zones are, right? Now, again, certain markets could eventually have certain outcomes, right? Certain neighborhoods, certain school districts, certain towns, they're all different, right? You could have one town that there's barely any inventory. Then the adjacent town, you could have a ton of inventory and there's no bidding wars, right? It's very, 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 very market dependent. So even though I'm reading an article that is honestly covering the Boston area, and there is a slight dip in terms of what the sale prices are, and there is some negotiability for buyers, that's over a bigger brushstroke, right? The more refined you get with that brushstroke, right? The more the more granular you get with that data or the market or the neighborhood or whatever it is that you're looking to buy in, you need to understand that this article may not apply to you. Okay, it may not apply to you in the market that you're looking to buy in, because perhaps the market that you're looking to buy in is on the higher point that's keeping the prices relatively stable. Now, on the adverse, you may also be looking in a market that has seen some levels of a downturn. And if you're looking to buy in that market, then it could potentially be a good opportunity. But it is very, very market dependent. And it really doesn't matter if it's a seller's market or a buyer's market. Certain towns, neighborhoods, and school districts will really dictate what is happening, and you need to be very careful with those things. All right, guys, I'm happy to be back here. I'm sorry for last week, and we're going to have more videos for you. So send me some articles. I'm going to link this in the description. I think this is a very good article, and honestly, the should you invest in Boston real estate market, that may be something I do in the future as well, because this looks really interesting to me. So I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.